Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM News at 5 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. Thank you for being here. We start with breaking news now at the top of this hour. According to the Spokane County Sheriff's Office, a Fred Meyer employee is in custody tonight after he's accused of assaulting a fellow employee with a folding camp saw at the North Spokane Fred Meyer.
We are told that's the Wandermere location where police are continuing to investigate at this hour. And that's where we find our KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk right now.
So Kyle, what can you tell us tonight?
Well, yeah, Mark and Whitney, it appears Fred Meyer has reopened. We're starting to see people go in and out of the store. We just received some information from the sheriff's office, though. As you mentioned, they say that an employee at this Fred Meyer got into an argument with a coworker. During that exchange, the sheriff's office says they went into what they're calling a crisis mode. That employee started grabbing items off the shelves and hitting people. As you mentioned, one of those items described as a folding camp saw. Sheriff's office says that that employee cut one of the victims. That person was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries just to be checked out. But that suspect, that Fred Meyer employee, now facing 2 counts of second-degree assault. So deputies still here investigating. And if you've ever been into a Fred Meyer, you know they have cameras everywhere. So I'm sure deputies will be reviewing that footage. Mark and Whitney.
Hi, Kyle. Thank you very much. More than a month after the deadly Gray and Oregon road fires tore through Spokane County, the road to recovery is proving a long, bumpy one.
Yeah, that's especially the case when it comes to paying for the damage. But getting federal money from the feds may not actually happen. KREM 2's Cody Proctor is breaking down where we stand tonight. Cody?
Well, Mark and Whitney, the reason we might not get FEMA funding for the fires is because of the type of help FEMA gives. One is for public assistance and the other is individual assistance. But the difference between them is what makes the difference.
It only took seconds for the Oregon Road and Gray fires to burn down homes, but getting them fixed will take longer than that. Governor Jay Inslee already set aside $1.25 million in emergency funds, which will go towards asbestos testing. But getting help from FEMA remains a question mark. According to Stacey McLean with Washington Emergency Management, who spoke to Spokane County commissioners on Tuesday, the Spokane County fires don't meet the state threshold to get public assistance funding from FEMA, which is about $13 million.
Fortunately and unfortunately, there's not enough damage to meet our state threshold.
According to Medical Lake Mayor Terry Cooper, that's not surprising since the fires mostly left public infrastructure untouched.
City Hall standing, school standing, didn't lose one business, library standing, all the churches are standing. So we're positioned well to help. But the devastation came to personal, individual properties.
The next option to look at to get FEMA funding is individual assistance. But McLean says that depends on how many homes don't have insurance. As of Tuesday's meeting with commissioners, about 40 homes were found to not have insurance. But there are about 200 homes they don't have insurance data on.
The numbers that we have right now, if we were to submit today, with only 40 homes, we would not get approved.
But according to Mayor Cooper, she says the thought process to turn to FEMA first needs to change.
But when we go to big government first, it takes the longest. The process is complicated. It's not straightforward.
Right now, local officials have until October 21st to submit the individual disaster declaration.
Now, county commissioners also found out on Tuesday that an application's been made to the Department of Commerce to try to get $2.5 million through the Rapid Response Program, specifically for debris management. In the studio, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
Cody, thank you very much. And federal funding has been denied before after a big wildfire here in our area. The Babb Road fire destroyed most of Malden and Pine City back in 2020.
FEMA approved public assistance for these rural communities to help rebuild public infrastructure like roads and government buildings, but individual assistance to help families rebuild their homes, well, that was denied.
FEMA explained that it doesn't grant individual assistance if the state has the resources to help residents recover. Individual assistance has actually only been approved twice recently here in Washington. In 2014, after the Oso mudslide destroyed 40 homes, and in 2021, after major flooding in Skagit County.
All right, taking a break from the headlines, let's talk with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo.
So, Jeremy, how's our weekend shaping up?
It's looking pretty good.
Good.
Well, much better than where we've been the past couple of days if we want to break from some of the cooler temperatures and the rain. 68 degrees right now. Here in town, that's pretty warm considering where we were yesterday, a whopping 10-degree jump in those temperatures. Most of our moisture stays a little bit farther out to the east, but we have been receiving quite a few phone calls and messages Wondering about a smoke smell in Coeur d'Alene. There's a prescribed burn along the Idaho-Montana border, and with the wind out of the east, all of that smoke is now blowing in and settling in to Coeur d'Alene. That's why you're smelling some of that. Over the next few hours, that wind will eventually start to die down. I think in the next 2 hours, we're going to watch it start to die down, so a big change expected. But the reason it's blowing out of the east is because of the low down to the south. So you can just basically trace the counterclockwise flow around that low, and that's what's pushing all of that smoke in. We're seeing some of that moisture try to lift its way to the north, but most of that stays in high elevations or south of Interstate 90. We'll continue to watch that be the case the rest of the evening, and eventually it works its way out. I think we wind up seeing a little more sunshine tomorrow in the afternoon. Temperatures in the mid-60s. Saturday back up near 70, and on Sunday we start our trend toward a cooler, wetter pattern.
All right, sounds good, Jeremy. Thank you very much. Well, we are getting more answers on what Washington State and Oregon State universities are doing as the only two schools left in the Pac-12 conference after this year.
KREM 2's Shannon Mowdy is here in the studio now with what we learned after a joint press conference with both schools today.
Right now, WSU and OSU say they're still waiting for a preliminary injunction to be scheduled. That is the next step in their lawsuit against the Pac-12, but it's far from putting a pause on their planning for the future. While the future may be uncertain, WSU and OSU say they're keeping all their options open for the 2024 season. That includes possibly rebuilding the Pac-12. But first, WSU President Kirk Scholes says they need to know what's there to build on.
The situation we find ourselves in is exceedingly complex. The fiscal condition of the Pac-12 conference is far from clear.
That's complicating the planning process. Athletic Director Pat Chun says the Pac-12 has a 2-year grace period to maintain FBS status, though the two schools say they want a path forward sooner rather than later.
To draw a line in the sand on the absolute date, not yet. Certainly this fall, we do know based on our modeling and our conversations with the content experts that we can put schedules together.
WSU and OSU say they're not on pause while the legal battle plays out. They're in constant scenario planning and discussions with options like the Mountain West.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that we've had very constructive conversations with their commissioner. There's certainly mutual interest in on both our sides.
Scholes says he understands fans, students, and staff and athletes want answers, but he says he's confident in the next 30 days or so there will be more clarity on how to move forward.
Patience is where you need to be right now, even though I know there's that uncertainty.
Again, the next step in the legal action is that hearing on the lawsuit, but a court date for that has not yet been set. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
All right, Shannon, thank you. And in other top stories tonight, the superintendent of the West Bonner School District says he is still in charge, even after the Idaho State Board of Education says he is lacking the requirements to be certified.
Without that certification, the state will not pay Brandon Durst's $105,000 annual salary. That money will now have to come out of the district's general fund. Last night, parents asked Durst how he justifies collecting paychecks when the district is already strapped for cash.
So Durst claims that he will bring added value to the struggling school district.
The salary you're paying me is a pittance to the savings you're going to have in the long run. That's the argument that I would make. I came here to do the right thing for the students in this district, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Durst claims he can fix the district's budget and academic issues, but some parents and teachers, well, they're not convinced.
We have children we need to think of. Our school district is a mess, and we need to get it repaired. Mr. Durst is taking credit for hiring 32 people when we had 37 leave because he got hired. That's not credit he should be given.
The school board is hoping to meet next Wednesday to further discuss the issue.
Spokane City Council wants answers from Scraps after an animal rights group claims more than a dozen dogs were euthanized just yesterday.
According to City Council, advocates reached out about concerns of inhumane treatment and policies at the animal shelter.
Well, now those claims have raised concerns among council members. 10 days ago, council reviewed an ordinance that ensures shelter animals are euthanized only when necessary. Council President Lori Kinnear has now invited Scraps leadership to attend the upcoming City Council committee meeting on Monday to discuss the shelter's policies.
In a statement today, Councilmember Karen Stratton said, "I am very disappointed that we were not notified of these multiple euthanasias today." She said, "I think it is safe to say this has not been a transparent process, and it's time to reevaluate our contract with Spokane County and explore working with other organizations that will value, respect, and commit to ethical standards for treating animals."